If we're recording,
Yes.
I'll call the town council meeting to order. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Allen.
Present.
Councilmember Hagenow.
Present.
Councilmember Kerr. Here. Councilmember Martin. Councilmember Parmet.
Hello.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Mayor Riley.
Here.
There are 6 members present.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the agenda. Does anyone have any changes they wanted to make to the agenda? If none, could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councilmember Sullivan.
Yes, I move to approve the agenda as written.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next is communications to council. And at this point, I'd like to ask anyone either online or in the room to, if they'd like to address council on any topic, please step forward, state your name, where you live or work in Keystone, or your connection to Keystone. And you have 3 minutes. And if you're online, please raise your hand. So,
hello, council. My name is Ryan Cole. I'm a battalion chief with Summit Fire and EMS. I was asked to come here tonight because we're all spread rather thin all over the place. But we wanted to make sure everyone here knows about our upcoming wildfire preparedness presentations that we're doing throughout the Summit Fire District. We were doing them both at our Station 1, 2, 8, Station 11 right here in Keystone. So I've got flyers for you as well as our PIO's business card. For you guys out here, it is April 11th and 12th. April 11th, I believe that's a Saturday. That is 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. right here at the Station 11. And then on the 12th, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock at Summit Cove Station, Station 12. So what we're looking to do here is just basically, it's like I said, it's a wildfire preparedness presentation. We'll have our wildland staff on that will be kind of directing and explaining what we're doing this summer. As far as Summit Fire is concerned, it's all normal operations as always. Are we anticipating a busy season? Sure. I think we all know when it's 66 degrees, it'll probably be we may see an increase. But like I said, nothing's changing for us. If anything changes, it's going to be that we staff up a little bit when we get into the periods that we typically see higher fire dangers, 4th of July weekend and that type. So I'm happy to leave these wherever you guys want me to, as well as Steve Lipsher's card. So you guys can put them out throughout your town. And any questions, I'm happy to answer.
questions?
What was the time on the 11th again?
Let's see, the 11th is 10 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Okay.
And like I said, that'll be right here at the Keystone Station.
Does
Thank
you
you
have
for
a
this
digital
plan.
version of this?
Yes. Yeah, we just forwarded.
And you can put
And I'd ask the town manager to please distribute this out to the community through our
Email list.
and get it advertised.
every way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone online?
No.
Nope. No one online. In that case, communications to council is closed. And now we move to the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda?
Yes, could I remove the TOK 26-010 Keystone Neighborhood Company Summer Events and Special Events Permit, please?
All right, we will consider that. Let me ask, why would you like to remove it?
I'd like to know some more information about the permits and events that wasn't clear in there, as well as the emergency preparedness plan. Seemed to have several glaring irregularities in it.
All right. Any thoughts from council?
Happy to entertain.
All right.
one.
Motion.
If
Second.
we can have a motion.
If I needed to make a motion,
Yeah, please make.
I move to remove TOK 26-010, the Keystone Neighborhood Company Summer Events 2026 Special Events Permit.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We'll move it further into the agenda. Any suggestion where, Mr. Town Manager? Other business perhaps? Or other?
Planning matters.
Any minutes? Yep. All right. Any other changes or items people would like to have removed? If not, could I have a motion to approve the remaining of portion of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is the first reading of ordinance 2026-0-03, an ordinance of the Town Council, Town of Keystone, Colorado, designating one or more automated vehicle information corridors and authorizing the operation of an automated vehicle identification systems pursuant to state code and the model traffic code. And I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Okay, as we discussed at the workshop, this is the ordinance that would designate Highway 6 as an Avis speed monitor corridor under state law. The ordinance is drafted by our town attorney to comport with state requirements for this type of speed enforcement tool. This passage of this ordinance, which will still take 2 readings, as was explained, does not mean we will have an Avis speed camera out there immediately. There's still a lot of administrative and just procurement hoops that we have to jump through before we get the camera. This is passage of this ordinance designates the corridor so we can start talking to CDOT about it, and gives us the go-ahead to acquire these cameras, assuming they're in the price range that we've discussed and are aware of. If there are any big changes as we're going through this, certainly it will be brought back up to council, but I don't anticipate any major cost or operational changes as we go through implementing these cameras. It's, as I said, this designates a corridor. It doesn't set the number of cameras, doesn't do anything like that. As we said, we'll do 2 cameras, one going each way on Highway 6, assuming approval from CDOT. Any questions?
Questions for staff? Yeah, we had extensive discussion on this during the work session prior, which is for those of you who are online and weren't part of that work session, or where we asked some significant questions and got those answered. The one question I have, you've proposed one corridor, but you provided space in here for a second corridor on page 2. Would that, if we don't have a second corridor, would that just be deleted?
We'll delete that for the public hearing, second reading.
Councilmember Hagenau.
One of the, and I don't disagree with you, Mr. Mayor, that we did have significant conversation about this earlier. One of the things that I was going to ask about and would love to understand a little bit better is what does the appeals process look like, right? And the reason I bring this up is, right, this seems very Big Brother, police state, automated tickets, and I know that the chief went over earlier that somebody from their department would touch each one of these citations before it went out in the mail or was delivered, right? But I think for me, a cornerstone to our democracy, right, is facing your accuser, due process in court, all this kind of stuff. And I'd love to understand what that appeals process specifically looks like.
Municipal court, Judge.
So if I get a ticket, I can go to the municipal court like it's any other ticket I get from a police officer.
I think it's actually, I think it's a little bit different in that, and I'm looking at it now, but I've gotten these tickets, and the tickets that I've received, I know it's very shocking.
One of them was her daughter though, right?
Exactly, one was my daughter.
Any other ones?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, they take your picture, the cameras, and then the license plate, and it's sent to the registered owner of the vehicle, which was me. And it had a process on the citation for sending an affidavit back, essentially saying, this was not me. I wasn't driving the vehicle. And I sent it back, and nothing happened. So, I mean,
What about beyond that? Like, if the two options, right, are pay the ticket or send an affidavit saying it wasn't me, I still don't think that accomplishes our right to fight this or have a day in court.
you're not going to court. You haven't been served with a ticket. So you have to be served with a ticket, personally served, in order to have to show up at court.
And so if I say tough on this ticket and don't pay it, what happens? Because earlier I was told that you could take this person to court and sue them.
You actually have to personally serve the person. So you have to personally serve in order to accomplish a further process of getting the person to have a judgment.
And so we could, if we wanted to, and we were talking about trucking company 123, right? Trucking company 123 has 10 of these Avis tickets. Could we serve them with these 10 Avis tickets and then take them to court?
Yes, I think so. I mean, the problem is the individual is driving, and you're sending the ticket to the corporation. So, I mean, we'd have to work through that, figure that out.
Okay, good. I appreciate the clarity. It's just there's a lot of, for me at least, to be blunt, a lot of mixed comments on this, and that's concerning. That we're talking about putting something that gives automatic tickets, and there's not a lot of clarity on the answers, at least from what I've seen. Right, within the span of 4 hours, I've had 2 different answers to the same question.
Listen to our attorney. Rather than me.
Fair. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Madsen.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Kale did have his hand up in case. Yeah, Chief had his hand up.
Oh, Chief. Did you want to say something on the subject?
Good evening. I would just reflect on what the town attorney said, and it does depend on the vendor. There is due process from the vendor that we've met with currently. I look forward to seeing what the process for the second vendor looks like, but we don't get to do anything without due process. Ever.
And that's to be honest with you, unless and I'm not expecting y'all to pull answers out of the air right now, but I'm not going to feel comfortable voting on this until I have more information on that, right? And I'm not trying to necessarily sway anyone's opinion with this, but like there's too many questions on this, especially for something that's gotten so much.
Oh, if I may interrupt, state statute calls out the fact that the municipality can receive a written notice requesting a hearing to dispute the alleged violation.
Can or has to?
Can.
Can.
Within 45. That means no matter what our rules are, they can request a hearing from the municipality. They don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
This is directed towards
I can say
you, as the individual, receive the ticket, can request a hearing to dispute the alleged violation.
How does that request work?
A written request disputing the violation.
Keep in mind that this is just to set up the corridors, and you'll get a look at whatever vendor we have to get that information and make that decision. All this is doing is setting up the corridors to go forward. If you choose not to do that, we probably won't follow up with any of the vendors, and it'll just be a non-issue.
So my assumption is we would and this is an assumption, we would use the town judge municipal judge to hear any disputes of the alleged violation if the person requests such a ticket.
It can't go to collections. They're not getting points taken against them.
So if we approve this today, and I just heard the chief comment that this is just to establish the corridors, right? And we go through all 3 readings on this, right? In theory, they could put the cameras up, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
So, it's not only talking about the corridor at this point, we're talking about through this process, giving authorization to put the cameras up.
But what is the due process that you're concerned with?
This is slightly different.
I mean, but we're not taking anything from anybody. We're giving them a ticket that they should pay. But if they don't pay it, it's not going to collections.
Yeah, so I mean, I
To
get,
dispute.
Kale pulls me, or Chief Osborne pulls me over, gives me a ticket. It says Chief Osborne, right, is the person who issued the ticket. I then can pay it right then and there, or I can dispute it and go to court.
Oh,
Yeah, I could pay it online or write a check or whatever the options are. Or I could go to court and fight it.
Because you've been personally served. You haven't been personally served.
And I think that the automatic tickets that are just being issued by a camera is a significant disconnect from that connection with our community and ability to go and fight a ticket if you want to.
But you do have the right to request it.
If you happen to know that you can look on the website and find 45.
There will be, the vendor will have information. We'll
And we haven't seen a vendor, so we don't know what any of this looks like. And we're asking to approve it before we've even seen pricing, full official pricing from a vendor options, and what this process looks like from a vendor. And that's, I think, honestly, my biggest thing is I don't have enough information to make this decision. And I don't like that if we vote yes on this, that it would put in place the ability to do this.
understand. Aaron?
A question and then a thought in response to Councilmember Hagenau's very legitimate concerns. It sounds like staff wants to know that the legislation would be there to support what we need to do, or the ordinance would be there to support what we need to do before they expend all the efforts on finding a vendor. But it sounds like Councilmember Hagenau has an interest, and I think I would too, in maybe having those vendors and their options and their processes presented back to council before it's implemented. And that might be a way to solve this and move forward.
Absolutely. And you nailed it right there. We cannot devote the amount of time it will take to implement this unless we know you're going to allow us to implement it, assuming that you can trust your staff to be reasonable, keep you informed of your concerns. You have to trust staff to an extent.
Every other time we've done this, so we've baked out the ideas in the work session. We've given a thumbs up to go forward with the details. I think that, yes, I would give you a thumbs up in the work session, right? I give you a thumbs up to go find out all this information, but we're being asked to make, in my opinion, decisions without all the information, with how it's presented right now.
You're asking us to allow us to go forward. We don't even know that CDOT will let us put the cameras on this road. That's an assumption we're moving forward with. That's going to take an excessive amount of time. It's going to take an excessive amount of time to review the various vendors. And guess what? The vendors are going to work for us. If we require something to be posted on the citation that's issued, they will post it on the citation, including the sentence, you have 45 days from the issuance of this to appeal or to request to appeal this to the municipality. You can do so by emailing this number. Staff we're good, okay? We're not going to leave you guys hanging out there in a bad situation. Our entire job is to protect you guys. We're asking you to take step one of this, which is to designate this corridor and saying, we're going to go with Avis cameras, assuming everything that goes forward is reasonable.
It's
We are
the exact
reasonable.
opposite process we did with Flock, though. We had Flock come and give presentations about the option. We talked about the options in the work session. Multiple vendors, there's only 2 that were identified in the work session. So, pardon me, that's not multiple. But I just, again, this is not the process we've been.
You understand?
There's an assumption here that maybe I missed. Does this ordinance, if passed, give you the authority to do all the research and make the final decision and let the contract without coming back to the council?
It's not budgeted. So no. And the real question is whether I have the authority or not is, do you trust me to come back to the council?
Well, that was my assumption. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, did I miss something?
So it sounds like once you see that there's a will to have some sort of system that the council finds acceptable, you're going to go out, find that system and bring it to the council.
Yeah.
Inform us about it.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think that issue is, we say, and authorizing the operation of the automated. So that implies, I think, if I hear.
Well, it absolutely does. It also implies you need to trust me to some extent here. You need to trust me to some extent here. I'm not going to implement a program that I know council is going to be unhappy with, whether I'm authorized to or not. I am your town manager. If I did something like that, I would not be your town manager for very much longer.
I guess the question is.
And we could terminate, if we disagreed, the town council could terminate the program, rescind the ordinance. So
I already said my piece.
My question that I wanted to ask was, let's say Bob's Speedy Delivery Service has 10 outstanding tickets, and then one of our police officers pulls Bob Speedy Delivery Service over. Can they see that there's those 10 outstanding tickets?
They who?
I asked the chief the question.
Chief?
No, they would have to have access into that system specifically. It's not tied into your driving or points or anything like that. So it wouldn't come up if somebody was clearing that driver's license.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Other questions? All right. No other questions. As I've looked at this, I don't share Councilmember Hagenau's view, obviously. I believe there are checks in here, and there's ways to, and there's checks in here to ensure that there is a process for appeal, aside from just responding and saying it wasn't me. You can take it to the town council. You can take it back to the town, which would end up going to the municipal court. I believe we need to also trust our manager to implement programs. He's assured us he'll be coming back to us as they go forward, keep us updated on the program. If we don't like the way it's going, we can vote and put a stop to it. So for that reason, I'm in favor of this of this ordinance, and would like a motion one way or the other to go forward.
Also in favor, and I do move to approve the first reading of ordinance 603, designating one or more AVIS automated vehicle identification corridors, and authorizing the operation of automated vehicle identification systems.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we were to authorize the first portion of that and not actually authorize the operation of auto AVIS, would that still give the town manager and staff the guidance and support? So if we designated the corridor, but we just didn't authorize it, because that's not that I don't trust you, Mr. Manager, right? But what it's coming down to is
I would have a hard time pursuing all the work I'm doing without knowing whether you actually want AVIS cameras or not. It would require a complete rewrite of this ordinance, so we really couldn't authorize it at that point, because we're not talking about a simple wordsmith change here.
My conversation then, I would still stand against this. And the reason why is I'm seeing a half-baked plan in my perspective. And I'm seeing a half-baked plan without all the details. And I think for such an important thing such as enforcement, that's not something we should be worrying about later down the road and possibly voting it out later down the road.
Any other comments? Councilmember Kerr.
With all due respect to my fellow council member, I don't think this is the same as the flock discussion. The flock discussion came to us from our police department, and it happens to be something that has a lot of contention around. We have been pressing for a number of steps to make US 6 safer since the town stood up 2+ years ago. I think this is a first step, but I would ask the question. I'm sorry, I know it's not question time, but the staff report specified there is a series of steps to be taken. And can you confirm to us that one of those steps would be to come back to us with your recommendation before signing the contract?
Absolutely. The chief and I will decide on the vendor that we should use. And then we will come and show you what this vendor is offering us, what the cost is going to be, what the citations look like. We will keep you informed on this without a doubt. And at that point, if you say, we don't like this, Chief and I are not going to go forward and sign a contract with a vendor. We're not actually likely not going to come to you for formal approval. You won't have to approve the contract. It should be within
Selection.
But we will certainly come and get a sign off basically on go ahead with this. We like the vendor, we like the cost, we like the citations, the look they're going to have in the information they offer.
And that will be the moment where the council either agrees or disagrees with your recommendation.
And if you
and if we agree, then it becomes a funded.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you disagree, we're not going to go forward with it.
Okay. One last thing. Do you think we can get the clarity that Councilmember Hagenow is looking for on the appeals process before we look at this again during the second reading?
Yeah, and I can tell you exactly what it'll be. It'll be what I just said on some point in the citation. It'll say, if you wish to appeal this decision, you can request a hearing from the town of Keystone at this email, this phone number, this mailing address.
Okay.
Councilmember Permit.
I assume that we would then hear about that at some future work session.
Yeah.
I think that I respect Councilmember Hagenau's view that this seems like it's a different order of presentation, but I also think that I see the logic in it, in that my impression of my colleagues' opinions from the work session is that we want an ABIS system so long as it meets the protections that we all want. So I personally feel comfortable with this, saying, all right, here's the ordinance to support that. And I certainly trust town manager to come back to us, because like Councilmember Hagenow, I do believe that the great benefit of what this is offering is it's preventative, and we're not trying to make money off it, and we're not trying to gotcha people or have an appeals process for a legitimate appeal that is so burdensome that people don't want to do it, because that just makes people angry. And that's not what we want. We just want people to drive the speed limit and make Highway 6 safer for pedestrians and drivers and wildlife and everything. And so I think this is a good thing to pursue. That's what I have.
I can promise you now that if their request for an appeal is I wasn't the driver, that'll be the end of the story right there. We won't schedule an appeal hearing. We'll let them know we've dismissed this citation. Similar to town attorney's numerous like
A quick last comment. I have observed the pattern across many municipalities that respond after a traffic fatality, after a terrible accident. I am proud that we are trying to get ahead of that. We need not wait.
As a last comment before I call the question, one of the highest priorities that I've heard from this community in the incorporation process, and even since we've been established, is Highway 6 safety and speeders on Highway 6. We've had the instance reported on video from CDOT of 100 miles an hour, a driver going 100 miles an hour with a person in the intersection at Razor Drive. Anything that we can do to reduce those speeds and calm that traffic is positive. I don't see this as a major invasion of someone's privacy overall, although I recognize that there's a segment of the population that do object to these type of cameras. But weighing the risk and the tremendous benefit to this community of reducing those speeds and making Highway 6 a bit safer, I think outweighs that in this case. So as a result, I'm very much in favor of this ordinance. So with that, without objection, I'll call the question and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Allen.
Approved.
Councilmember Hagenow.
No.
Councilmember Kerr.
Approve.
Councilmember Permet.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Approved.
Mayor Riley.
Approved.
There are 5 votes to approve and 1 against.
Thank you. The next item is Resolution 2026-10, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, adopting a regular member to the Business Advisory Board. And I'll turn it over to the town manager.
I will turn it over to the deputy town manager, Madeline Cielo.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor, Town Council. My name is Maddie Cielo. I'm the Deputy Town Manager. Staff have received an additional application for the Business Advisory Board for the Town Council to consider. This application was submitted by Sherry Ryan, the Executive Director of the Summit Chamber of Commerce, after the close and appointment of members back in September. This resolution considers appointing an additional member, so it would make the board have 11 members total, and would appoint Sherry to that 11th seat. If there are any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Councilmember Kerr.
We've actually appointed those other business board members some time ago. When did their term begin?
September 26th of 2025.
Okay.
So what would the term of this position be?
Yes, that is outlined in the ordinance, but we ended it at the resolution, we ended it on September 23rd of 2027 to align with the expiration of the other terms.
Councilmember Hagenow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you remind us if there's staggering terms on the business?
Yes, there's 2-year terms and 1-year terms.
Okay, so this would be under a year, understood. No, it'd be over.
2 year. This would be a 2-year term.
Why is that? With all the other appointments we've done for like after the regular appointment period, it's always been the lowest term, if you will. What was the reason to choose the 2-year term timeframe?
Simply because September 23rd of 2026 is coming up pretty quickly here. So if we were going to appoint someone, I figured a little bit more than a year would be appropriate.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, my only concern with this appointment, one, it does increase the size. It also increases the size from someone who is not a Keystone business owner. And I know that Summit Chamber has been attempting to recruit members of the Keystone community to become members of the chamber. I would hate to have this position becoming a recruitment position for the chamber versus an advice position to the town. I'm willing to live with that risk right now. But it is a concern that I have, does not turn into someone using the executive director using this as a way to try to recruit other businesses in Keystone who have had the opportunity and have frankly failed to see the benefit of the chamber to their business.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I echo and agree with what you said. And one additional concern I had thought of is we really want, and I was talking about this with our future council member over there, is a lot of times these boards and advisory committees, we really want their authentic perspective, right? And I would hate for the perspective to be like, oh, well, at the chamber, oh, well, at Frisco, and oh, well, at here, this is what they do. Like and that's valuable, right? Not saying it's not, but I just don't want it to be the board to be pushed in a certain way or tainted, which I don't think is the right word, with some outside perspective in a very obviously influential and successful person.
But let me also emphasize that I do see the value of Sherry as well as being a member of the board, because she does bring the perspective of the communities. Councilmember Kerr.
I'll give a pro and con. I know Sherry, have worked with her. She was instrumental in helping us stand up the first business information session we had here over a year ago. So I really respect her. At the same time, you all know that I raised in work session the question, do we want someone who doesn't have a direct link to Keystone? We were kind of ambivalent in that discussion, but in the meantime, it occurs to me that her priorities are appropriately for her entire organization. And so maybe we might recommend that she be a regular guest or guide, or as opposed to a member making the decisions, somebody who helps inform some of the decisions based on really deep experience. Would that fly?
If I may weigh in, advisory committees don't make decisions.
It's true.
You make.
They make priorities. They decide on priorities. And to that end, she's a good organizer.
Other comments? Can I have a motion? Councilmember Permit.
I guess my comment is that while it's important to be able to have voices that aren't necessarily, you have to live in the community, and all of our committees can have people from outside the community if we can't find qualified people from within the community. Having some direct link to the community, even if you don't live in it, makes a lot of sense, because like, what are we going to do? Put an ad in the New York Times? Like, if we're just looking for people with good qualifications, like, yes, this is fairly tangential. She knows people who have direct links, right? But this seems a bit odd to me.
Question. Do we have any insight into any other towns' business advisory boards, and if their membership includes leaders within certain communities that aren't necessarily part of the community?
I don't know. However, Chamber does have members in Keystone.
Yes, that's true.
We are still a very small town. This is not our small community, not just Keystone. Summit County is a small community. We're not bringing in someone who runs a company in New York. We're bringing in someone who has a lot of experience with businesses dealing with the exact identical problems Keystone businesses deal with, and with marketing those businesses in the exact same way Keystone businesses want to be marketed. I feel remember, this is not a decision maker. She is just, this advisory board simply sends recommendations to you in response to questions you as a council have asked the board to weigh in on. She has a ton of experience and understanding, and personally, I feel she would be a very valuable member of the board. I would hate to request that she sit out there and not necessarily be involved in the discussions at the table unless she's specifically invited every single time.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Yes, I mean, I hear both sides of this and understand it, but I think she would be a good member. And I move to approve resolution 2026-10.
Second.
And approve appointing a regular member to the Business Advisory Board to fill a position vacancy.
Second.
Moved to second. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Permit.
Did we solicit interest from the community prior, or are we just taking a random letter of interest? Did we actually put this out there to the community that this is open? Because in that case, I don't believe we're meeting the burden of bringing in people from outside the community if qualified people who are interested are not applying from within the community, because we've made no effort to bring this to the community, and I'd have to oppose it on that basis.
We have reached out to all business owners in the community.
Recently.
Okay.
I think Aaron's or Councilmember Parmet's point is did this letter come from that reach out, or was this letter solicited?
This letter came from that reach out. She had personal circumstances during the month of September and got it in late October.
Oh,
So this has been.
so her interest was on.
This was not just a submission now.
Correct.
This was back from the original.
Yes.
Yes, but she missed the initial deadline due to personal circumstances.
Right, but does anyone else in the community know that there's an opening that they could write a letter of interest for?
It's not an opening.
There's not an opening. We're adding a new
We're
position.
adding a new position. Okay, I misunderstood that.
And and it's your advisory board. If you want to limit it somehow, that's perfectly fine. I would just recommend this is a unique individual with her experience and knowledge. She has experience across the spectrum of businesses, not just restaurants, not just retail. I feel she would be a very valuable member whose input could really help you as a council in making decisions going forward.
The other council member Permit.
She does definitely sound like someone we want, and I would be generally supportive of that. I'm just pointing out, in general, we are, by our own decision as a council, committed to making sure that we have filled our committees with qualified persons from within the community before we look outside. What is the current breakdown of this committee in terms of number of people who are from within and without? Does anyone know?
About half of the members own businesses within Keystone. The other half of the members have property or live in Keystone and have business experience.
Thank you. And can someone remind me if I'm forgetting what the right is, our legislation or ordinance about committees, does that say that anything specific about the balance of the committees? Because it sounds like we basically met that if there is a balance, but I'm remembering something about half.
No,
No? Okay.
not on this one.
And I guess the last question is, were there additional people from back in that initial solicitation for members who were under consideration here?
Everyone who applied during the first cycle was appointed.
Great. That's all my questions. By the way, I'm going to support this.
I call the question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, well,
You already have a motion on the table.
All right. I was going to make a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, I rescind my previous statement.
Thank you. I expressed reticence about appointing Sherry Ryan. And that resident, that concern stems strictly that she was not a business owner, and it actually expressed my frustration a little bit going back to the original appointments that we only had about 5 of the members of the committee that were actually business owners in Keystone. I would hope in the future, as we evolve, that we get more business involvement from the town of Keystone. But I recognize the definite qualifications that Ms. Ryan brings to us, and I recognize the potential benefits that she will provide to the committee. So I'm going to vote for this. But with that, without objection, I'll call the question. And would ask in this case, all those in favor of the resolution, please raise your hands. Those opposed? Resolution is passed. And I was doing my darndest to extend this so we can make sure we get to 9 o'clock.
What's the over under now?
The next item is planning matters, and I believe we're back into the Keystone.
Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And with that, Mr. Town Manager.
I am going to let Jess Hertzberg address this, but perhaps first, Councilmember Higginau can express his concerns.
Yeah, very high level. I'm not going to go over a list of everything. But if you read the emergency response plan that was submitted with the submission packet basically for this, it has a lot of irregularities and things that I would be concerned about having this be their approved plan. To name a few, right, we're talking about people that no longer work for Keystone. Chris Sorensen's listed as the COO and VP of Keystone Resort, which that hasn't been the case for a year now at this point, maybe a little bit over a year. And then there's several areas that are called out with lacking information, right? I'm not going to go again down the list of, I think it's like 12 things I have here. And that's just one read through it at 10:30 last night, to be honest, right? So like, I didn't catch everything. What my basic ask is with this is, I appreciate that they had this detailed 109-page plan, but it looks like it was almost copy and pasted. And so I'd like to ask that because we're not going to get answers for all 20 of these right now. I'd ask that we send this back to them, ask them to do another review, get us some updated information. And if we look at when the permits were issued last year for the 2025 season, we're months ahead of time already, or ahead of that already. So we do have time to send this back. It's not like we're at the crunch right now. And then my second main point, which isn't as critical, and I guess I'll comment on why emergency response was such an important thing for me. We're looking at, and gosh, God forbid, I hope we don't have to do any of our emergency plans for the town. But what we're looking at, as Aaron talked about earlier, an unseasonably warm summer is predicted. We have an historical low snowpack, right? So we're going to have a historical dry summer. So if there is an emergency that happens, I really want to make sure that any of our partners, especially one as major as K&C in this town, has a concrete evacuation plan for when you're talking about 4 festivals that they're anticipating having 3,500 people or more inside of the River Run Village area. That's my major concern. Second one is, Jessica, would you be able to answer if the current plan as presented would allow for exposure of the Kindred property and plaza to be involved with the permitted and special events that are anticipated?
Sure. I spoke to KNC today to try to get some answers on the email that you sent, and they are absolutely going to incorporate any updates that are needed, anything they missed that they didn't catch in the first run, and shared that it was going to take them a little bit of time because they have to confer with a greater emergency response plan that comes directly from Vail. What they did share is, in the meantime, is that they don't plan on expanding to include Kindred this year, and maybe we'll think about it for the future. And they also will be getting permits with Summit Fire and EMS to make sure that they have reviewed everything fully, and they will not be using any town services for emergency response. And so they are following the protocol that they have used in past years and recognize that they can absolutely make some updates to move forward. Just a few things were missed as they were putting together the big document.
And
I want to correct that a little. They will use the Keystone Dillon Police Department as needed.
Sure.
They won't be their security, but
Sure.
Yes,
Totally. And
sorry.
just so I understood that correctly, you said Kindred does not have any plans to be involved in any of the special events that would be covered by this.
no, what she said was KNC does not plan to have Kindred involved.
ANC does not plan to have Kindred.
the Kindred
That is
Plaza
correct.
is not included in this.
Right.
Yes.
If Kindred wants to use the plaza, it would be a entirely different permit if it's not within their allowable by right operations.
And would they be able to connect in the future if Kindred did decide to activate themselves for a special event? Would they be able to combine together to have one seamless festival bounds?
I do not know, but that is something we can discuss with them in the future.
Yeah, they would have to expand the boundaries covered by these special event permits.
KNC would.
Yes.
And would that require them coming back to the town for approval? What are the processes for updating their emergency response plan? I share Councilmember Hagenau's concern that what this sounds like is this was a cut and paste from last year with names changed and not a real lot of thought going back and re-looking at the plan to see if it's appropriate for this year. What?
There are old names in there too.
Yeah,
It's more than a year old.
But that worries me
yeah.
when you wonder who's the main person of contact if it's an emergency.
Yeah.
And this person hasn't been here for a year now.
Yeah. So I have concerns about that. So
It says the medical center's closed in the summer, and that hasn't been true for years.
These are all comments that have been passed on, and they have already said that they would be willing to make these updates, and anything that takes further investigation or thought, they will be sure to do, and they will provide us with the updated emergency response plan once those updates are made.
Question, can we just move this 2 weeks? What's the impact?
Yeah, I was actually just going to recommend, especially since it's actually 3 weeks, that we table this. Do we have to set a date certain?
Well, part of it is the process. This is that pull-up process. And there's a timeline in terms of when you have to pull it up for reconsideration. You're not doing that. You're really just asking questions. And
So because it was like, please correct me where I'm wrong here, but it was already approved, quote unquote, by the town staff. We're basically re-reviewing it.
well, but with it being on the consent, essentially you're saying you don't want to appeal it. You don't want to bring it up to have it considered by town council.
So what are our options here right now? We could decline this, right, which would be like a no, right? Or we could say yes and it'd be like we're approving it. Like what are our options?
So your option would be to call it up,
Mhm.
and then we have to set a hearing for the town council to consider it. The special permit.
Are we able to, I think that somebody mentioned, I forget who, can we table this consent item for 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I need to look at the ordinance that put this in place. This process, because part of it is that there's timelines in that ordinance.
I believe that timeline, when does that timeline end, Ms. Hertzberg?
They have a 21-day appeal period in which only the applicant or the town council by majority vote can appeal the approval.
And when does the 21 days start?
From the date that notice of action is given.
What date was that?
That was March 19th.
March 19th.
No, it won't last till the next meeting.
So the problem is that you couldn't then call it up to consider it.
Well, we could, but we'd have to do a special meeting.
Right. But if you were to bring this back, I mean, then your options for calling it up are gone.
What's the process that we can use?
Well, I'm not sure what you're wanting to do. I mean, it sounds like there's some questions about the emergency plan that they submitted. They said that they would provide a new emergency plan. And then
We would like to
review that.
Yes.
Or we'd like staff to look at it?
To tell the truth, and I brought this up with Councilmember Hagenow today. The reason this got approved and passed is because staff doesn't necessarily know who and mid-level staff members are at. This would have never been caught if Councilmember Hagenow didn't work for Chris Sorensen.
I understand what you're saying, but I respectfully disagree, right? It doesn't take an insider to know that Chris Sorensen doesn't work there anymore.
Yeah, I exempted him from the other. You know, we're not going to call each of the numbers when we're presented with the emergency plan and make sure that they're who they were represented.
I did not, just to clarify, I did not call every number.
No. I'm saying staff is not going to do.
I think that what we as a council, I'm guessing what we all want is when we give our assent to something like this, whether it's through the consent agenda or through any other process, we want to know that like what we have, what's been given to us by a community member asking for a permit is thoughtful and correct. And that's all we want to see. This is otherwise non-controversial, right? So all we want is what's the most time efficient way to let them get this corrected and pass it, right?
Well, we don't necessarily have to pass it because it's not, we were not asked to pass.
Or let it stand or
let it stand. So the question is, would it be, given that it's, one, we don't have a problem with the event, having the events. Certainly. It's an issue predominantly with the emergency action plan, and it's a potential issue given everything the council has heard about Kindred's plans, stated plans to be involved in these festivals, that they were not included in the footprint. And could council give direction to staff, and would KNC then be responsible for coming back to staff with an updated emergency action plan if we allow this to go forward, subject and with direction to staff to go get a updated emergency action plan from KNC?
So let me weigh in, and please step in here if I'm wrong, Jennifer. If you don't appeal this right now, I don't think we actually have the authority to make KNC give us an updated emergency plan. That being said, I can guarantee you that KNC will give us an updated emergency plan because they are going to come back to us next year too, and every year going forth. And they come to us for lots of things. This is not a one-off festival promoter who we've never seen before, who we'll never see again. So once again, it's a matter of trust. We won't have the authority to make them do it. They will do it. We will make them do it.
And I completely agree with you. I think that KNC and Vail Resorts through Keystone Resorts are partners of us, and we need to treat them like partners, right? And be trusting of them. I guess I would be comfortable with trusting that they'll get it back to us, but I would like to give guidance to staff to really look at it, right?
Yeah.
And I know you're mentioning like, oh, I wouldn't have necessarily been able to catch some of this. There, like the location of spill kits for hazardous material spills is noted in the document as XXX and highlighted in yellow. It doesn't take an insider to understand that that is missing information. And I'm not trying to berate anyone, but it's like my thing is fine tooth comb with this second version.
Yeah. I noticed.
So how do we do that?
Well,
I'd be willing to, and I don't know, Ms. Madsen, how we do this if we do a.
no, the question, do we have a motion yet?
No, and I really don't think that there is a motion unless you're going to move to call it up and schedule it for.
Which my comment would be, I'm willing not to call it up or suggest calling it up because we understand that this is a valued partner in our community that will make edits to this if we ask them to.
And we will ask staff
To review it.
to work with KNC to ensure they submit an updated plan for staff's review and approval.
Perfect. So how do we, I agree with that.
We don't have to do anything.
Do we have to do a consent pass?
No.
We have to like close discussion. How do we move on from the item?
Yeah, you've just given staff direction. So,
Staff direction. Cool.
right.
And share with us the output.
Share with us the output. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all fair.
As much as I hate to say it, I appreciate Councilmember Hagenhouse bringing this to our attention and having the perseverance to go through a 9-page file.
I might have skipped some of the appendixes, but the first few look good.
They did highlight it for your attention, right?
And I think this will be a
Learning experience.
wake-up call to KNC and to Vail Resorts. Also, although they are completely separate organizations, do completely separate things. Any of our large organizations, whether it's Kindred in the future, Vail Resorts in the future, KNC future, to understand that we require thought to go into the things of it.
And I would also ask staff to ask KNC to go back and to revisit whether their Kindred is going to need to submit a permit application or join or modify this one in the future to become part of the event. There's very strong input from Kindred. It says that they plan to fully participate, and having a 100-foot gap between where you can carry alcohol from Kindred to here would probably be a problem for enforcement. All right. Now we can go over to, we're working well. We can go over to the town manager for report of the manager and staff.
Okay, well, let's start out with community development. Kindred just submitted for some of their last approvals needed to get some of their TCOs. And we've already discussed how those TCOs will progress into final COs in the future. The reason for TCOs, there are some very, minor, I want to even say just cosmetic issues that are still slightly outstanding. Nothing in any way representing safety or any concerns for any of the guests or the people at the building. We'll be reviewing those this week and assuming everything is good, signing off on them, and then we're close to having Kindred be open.
Could you, TCO's temporary?
Temporary certificate of occupancy.
So,
And they're a very common
yeah,
tool used in especially major developments.
with the TCO, are they able to begin occupying it with paying guests, or is there limitations to that?
They're likely, especially with the issues here. As far as I know, I haven't reviewed it, Jess hasn't reviewed their finals. It should allow for full occupancy. That's an assumption. I haven't reviewed these, but a TCO gives you the same occupancy rights as a CO unless there are specific limitations. You could get a TCO for 2 towers and have one of the towers be vacant. I haven't reviewed their final application yet, but
Thank you.
where people can be in, it's to be fully operational.
Thank you.
Our new community development director is starting on May 4th, Drew Nelson. So he is officially on board. Finance, the audit is going on this week. So Heike's been pretty busy and we'll all continue to be busy. It seems to be going well. I don't foresee any problems with our audit whatsoever this year. And I've already discussed our February lodging tax and our short-term outlook, at least for late winter on our revenue in town. We have a new clerk, Melissa Stabile, starts April 6th. She's been a long time local, has worked as administrative. She was town clerk and I'm not sure what her title, not town clerk.
Metro District Clerk and Treasurer.
Copper Mountain Metro District Clerk and Treasurer. So a lot of her job skills will transfer very nicely to us, and she's going to be a good fit here. You guys are going to like her a lot. Public Works, as I mentioned, we're meeting with Vail Resorts to discuss a cost-sharing plan for Tennis Club Road, Highway 6 intersection. I'm excited about that.
Does that involve the left turn signal that's supposed to signal light to turn from the gas station?
Yeah, that'll involve CDOT, but if we're tearing up that whole section, it'll fix that.
Yeah, that is still an outgoing issue. I know that I was out there looking at it a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
So.
And I'd actually like feedback here. We have 10 medians. 3 at that end have no irrigation whatsoever. 2 in the middle have irrigation that hasn't worked for over 5 years, although we're working with Scott Price to fix that problem. The point is there's no live grass here and multiple dead trees. We'll be removing our dead trees this summer from our medians. The question is, our 5 medians where we still have irrigation and grass leading out of the town. And I bring this up only because there's an image political issue. We are in a severe drought in most of the state. Severe water shortage in most of the state. And we as a town of Keystone and Snake River Water District, we have plenty of water. We have plenty of water here. It's not going to impact the conditions in Keystone whatsoever to continue to irrigate those 5 medians where we have irrigation. What might happen is you will receive calls from people saying, why are we irrigating this in a drought? Why is there water flowing into the road off the median when Colorado is suffering a severe drought and Lake Dillon is down 60 feet. I feel it's actually safer for us to continue to irrigate and have wet grass as opposed to dry grass in the middle of our roads, given the wildfire situation. But I want to get council's opinion on possibly not irrigating these this summer because of the political ramifications.
Quick question, are we able to turn that off if we decide to?
Yes.
Councilman Kirk.
I feel like this is part of a bigger conversation. When we talked to the fire mitigation gal who was here months ago, our question was, what kind of policies can this town set that would assist in this mitigation effort? One of the ones that we never talk about in detail, but the first one that people think of is, watering every other day for HOAs, et cetera. Are we ever going to have that conversation? Because this might be relevant to that.
Yeah, and actually, if we don't have a decision right now, I'm okay.
Okay.
Because we're still in March.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm
appreciate you
talking
not-
about watering medians in
Right.
March, but. Question.
Well, let me finish that thought, because if we continue watering every day, it will be hard to turn to an HOA and say, you really shouldn't. So I think it's a bigger conversation that we need to have.
But there's no intent by the water district because they do not have a water shortage. And they're not anticipating a water shortage in Keystone.
So have they indicated that they have planned no changes?
They, as far as I know, they have not indicated they're making any changes.
I communicated with the executive director 3 weeks ago when we were going through the discussion of water and the appointment of Christie to that board.
Mhm.
And he came back and assured me that our wells are not dependent on surface water. Our wells are not dependent on the Snake River. They are they're fairly deep wells, and they tap into an underground river. So Keystone, unlike other towns in Summit County, has no water problem with water use.
Okay, so to recap, we have no limitation on water that would demand it. We have no indications from our firefighting friends that we should do that. And in fact, you're interpreting that keeping that grass healthy will be better.
Yes,
If we don't do this, will the grass die?
most likely, yes.
And we'll replace it.
But to tell the truth, no, to tell the truth, these medians, as anyone who drives fast and sees, none of them are in good shape, even the ones that water and have good grass. There's a lot of improvement and changes that have to happen to these medians over the future.
Is the irrigation primarily for the trees?
We will, no matter what, continue to irrigate the trees. It's about irrigating the grass because the trees are not, the trees are not, well, two things. They're not noticeable that you're watering them, and it's really a minimal water use compared to irrigating the grass.
And do we know are they drought resistant grasses? Do we have that? Is that something that could be replaced with something that's natural that's going to decrease the water demand?
Well, as I said, those medians are expensive going forward in the future, in the relatively near-term future. There's going to be all sorts of questions about how we design them, whether we even have grass in the medians going forward. So it wouldn't make sense to tear out the grass, put in new grass, and then 2 years from now, tear it all out and put in xeriscaping or rocks. So,
Aaron.
That's kind of my question, is that clearly save the trees, and clearly there's the hazard, and the largest hazard is along the side of the road, that you'd have something that would happen on the road that throws sparks. In fact, we've had major fires in the Colorado high country from people blowing a tire and dragging the rim, or a truck that slows their chains on and the chain drops down and starts spitting sparks, and having dry grass right there. that's bad. So if we don't keep the grass green, do we have an option to mitigate by throwing gravel over it or something to reduce that fuel?
I anticipate that would cause significantly more problems, not given the current design and the way that sod was just.
Seems like the logical thing to do is to water the grass for safety.
I think you have your guidance.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because you will hear something.
In all seriousness, to Aaron's point about mitigating the dead grass, you're talking about 5 medians that we are going to water, and I think you said that there was 10 or something total.
There's 10 total.
Yeah, so the other 5 is where my concerns are going to be, right? What I'm getting at, Mr. Mayor, is can we ask that they like scalp down
The other 3 of them have no vegetation except for, I'm not even sure if they have trees.
Sure.
And the 2 out here, they have trees and true drought resistant weeds.
Thank you.
They will always be helpful.
Okay, so next meeting, which is April, I said 12th, I think it's April 14th, isn't it? April 14th. We will have a vacancy. So we will be bringing, that will be one of the first orders of business is how to address that. I want to remind everyone that we are still planning on doing graduation pictures. Silverthorne got in the paper because they're doing banners. If you know someone with a high school student or a homeschool student here in Keystone, please have them reach out to Gabby. Even if they don't have senior pictures, we'll gladly take senior pictures for them so we can recognize our Keystone graduates coming up. Marketing, big things are happening. And we're going to have a pretty full report on what's happening with our marketing committees and our destination blueprints, probably at the next meeting in April, certainly at one of the 2 meetings in April. I'm shooting for the first meeting. Our municipal court is up and running. Our cleanup day is May 30th, everybody. We expect we had a great turnout last year. I'd love to see the same this year. And as I've mentioned, our 4th of July is moving along really well. And we're really having great cooperation and help with Vail Resorts in the use of Decatur fields and the things we can offer there for them. So I want to thank Vail Resorts for that. I don't have a whole lot of that. I have a billion meetings coming up over the next couple of weeks, including our IMTPR, which we skipped our last meeting. This should be an interesting meeting since they'll have their budget a little bit more clearly defined, hopefully from the Golden Dome. We'll see how that one goes. That's all I have.
Is there any update? As I remember months ago, you talked about the CDOT was looking at still doing something on Razor Drive. Are they still looking at something on that?
They are still looking at doing something on Razor.
Would that be a 2027 project?
Most of it would be 2027. There might be some that we can tie into our project. The sidewalk down to the bus stop on the north side of the road that we're going to try to get done this year. So we're still very much in touch with CDOT on not just Razor Drive, but all of our big issues. We need them for the bus stop at Razor Drive, Tennis Club Drive, our final bus stop is moving our damn town limit sign. And
Wonderful town limit sign.
yeah, our wonderful town limit sign. And actually, speaking of signs, despite our February sales tax, I am going to be spending some time and effort looking into a electronic entry sign to the town. So we'll be dealing with CDOT. I would prefer to have it private property as close to CDOT right away as we can if there is a parcel that works like that.
Are you imagining it being near the town hall, or are you imagining one at each
I'm
entrance?
kind of thinking, no, I'm thinking somewhere around Elk Crossing, maybe just this side of Elk Crossing a little bit, not right by the Vail Resorts Keystone sign, but down before you come into what most people consider the town proper.
Yeah, my only initial comment on that is there's a beautiful, well-maintained, gorgeous flowers in the
Yeah.
summer sign that welcomes you to Keystone. It might seem duplicit or competing almost, putting that there.
Yeah.
But that's just,
Yeah, and I agree, and that's why it would be significantly far away that,
It has our altitude on it, right?
It has what?
Our altitude on it.
yeah, the town limit sign does.
Oh, limit, not the pretty sign.
another thing for CDOT, and I know this came up at several of the HOA meetings we had, is the lights on the road. Do you know if those the street lights that are administered by CDOT, do you know if those end up all being replaced?
We're working on that right now. Yeah, the intersection streetlights.
Not even intersection, there's a street light that the Tenderfoot Lodge HOA mentioned was the beacon they used to tell guests to come to, and it's been burnt out.
So I'll check that Tenderfoot Lodge light for sure.
Are there other questions for the manager?
Just one comment. Maybe a last tactical recommendation, since this is my last town council meeting. But there's been a lot of recurrent themes about getting participants, whether they're on advisory boards, town council, that it may be worth on our homepage on the website, actually putting ways to be involved and listing out some of the councils, when council seats are coming open. So if someone is looking on our webpage, they can say, oh, there's an advisory board. Oh, there's 2 openings coming open in September. So it might just be a way to get more participation from the community. You know, a lot of places will put their jobs postings there, you know, hey, come be a new town manager. But I'm thinking even more so. People
that's a great idea.
And just ways to be involved in the community.
It's a great idea. And not only that, I mean, for instance, we're starting to look for volunteers for the 4th of July.
That'd be a perfect place, and volunteer 4th of July bash. And so I think that might help. Yeah, anyway.
Great idea.
Other questions? Mayor and council, anyone have anything? Carol?
Yeah, I've got one on marketing and one on legislative. Marketing, I've asked John to be on today's agenda, and I hope it's going to be next one, because I want to keep the council apprised of what the marketing committee is doing. As we've identified several times tonight, it's advisory, and they're getting advice from the marketing consultant that we got through that grant from Colorado Tourist Office last year. So he gave us a high-level framework for a 3-year strategy last week that he is now fleshing out for a May strategy presentation. But just to keep you in the loop, first year, we're looking at building the foundation, which is the brand, the website, the social media channels, a little more. Second year is building demand, especially with Colorado markets. And the third year is operating to scale with national and international focus. Our consultant is an experienced marketer. So his concerns are keeping in line with the community input we've had. He's had access to every single thing we've done here, and he held his own stakeholder meeting. 2, checking in with actual data, making data-based decisions about tourism in Colorado. And 3, making something that is feasible for this small group of people to pull off. So I'll share the details next time. but I just wanted you to know, if you got any questions, let me know. We want to keep you in the loop. I will say that we asked him to give us some guidance about developing an RFP for brand development, because I am concerned about waiting till May to kick that off. So, because there'll be a process of deciding how to develop that RFP. So more to follow. I went to the CAS legislative meeting next week. I'm gonna forego discussion of that to bring you the CML position on a couple of things. Thank you for those who responded to my email. Appreciate the feedback, and I'm bringing attention to the two most pertinent bills you are interested in. One, there's one that will adjust the baseline for Prop 123 affordable housing targets, that if we meet the target, we get state money. And I have to admit, it was Greek to me, but John has assessed it and determined that we're going to be in a better position. Two, there is a lot splitting bill that has already passed the third reading in the House. It's very politically viable. I'll be shocked if it isn't signed, but it's only for first front range communities and metro zones. So we just watch that, because everything they do there eventually spreads out. I'm going to be sending you a proposed CML purpose statement. They redesign this every few years with input from the committee. And then I think, Mayor, you'll be voting on it at the summer conference. I bring this to your attention because it's a policy statement that guides decision-making as to where they're going to put their efforts of their small team. It's fundamentally and pointedly focused on municipal issues only. So I was asked about the education funding legislation. We didn't discuss that. It's not a town issue. The last one that John, not Congressman, I always want to make you more. Yeah. Councilmember Hagenow and I were both in a discussion for requiring baby changing stations in all men's and women's public bathrooms. Some of us took exception to this bill because of the additional expense for businesses in our towns. That was not in the CML purview. Their only concern was additional expenses unfunded for towns in our own bathrooms. So I find that helpful to understand. Secondly, the last thing that is worth checking, if you read the Denver Post or the Sun or any of those papers, is the legislative action that's going to move funds from programs that we tap into, like wildfire mitigation efforts for towns. Sponsors want to move some of that money to give it directly to individual homeowners, making that much less available for towns. There are other examples, but we started the legislative year and they were saying we're about 80 million in the hole at the state level. The finance committee just came out and said, no, it's more like 1.4 or 1.5 billion in the hole. So they will be stealing DOLA money that we tap into for other purposes. And it's going to be a rowdy April. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
We can only hope April passes quickly before they have time to do
anything more.
Any other, do you have anything?
Mike, I can give you an update on meeting with Tyree Stewart, who's our new postmaster, this coming week. The topics are, we're going to be discussing the pros and cons and potentials for a contracted postal unit. We've talked about that in the past. We're going to be talking about an update on where the zip bill is. It's still in committee. It's passed House and Senate. I've talked to both of our Senate groups and they're both approving it. We just got to get it out of committee onto the floor. There was a group of coalition members, and I was going to go, but I wasn't able to last week, that walked the floor with all the senators. It's got pretty good, there weren't many that said they were not in favor, but USPS hasn't hit the floor with their people yet. and they're against it. So that would be a zip code for us. And then Tyree and I were restarting conversations on delivery. That's where we are.
Does that also include the cluster box issue?
Yes.
Quick question. Is that a clean bill or is it part of something bigger
No,
for the
it's
zip
clean.
codes?
Strict.
Okay.
And we're just one of the named, forget 25 towns, and we're a named town.
Any other items from council? The only thing I have is on the 22nd, 25th of June, we have the Colorado Municipal League's annual conference coming up in Westminster. And I'd just like to get a sense from council, who's right now planning on going? 1, 2,
I'm half at
2 yeses, 2 maybes,
Mhm.
or 3 yeses and 2 maybes.
I have decided if we need more candidates there, I will.
Yeah, my experience is the CML conference is extremely beneficial because it gives you a broad perspective of what's happening across the state and other towns, what other towns have done. The sessions are outstanding, as well as the conversations you can have in between those sessions. So I would encourage anyone who would like to go. If you're planning on attending, finding lodging is probably going to be difficult if you're already not booked in the hotel in Westminster where the conference is being held. But if you are interested, I would certainly recommend going and seeing if they still have vacancies.
There are several hotels on the other side of 36.
Yeah.
It's an urban area, right?
But it does mean you have to travel and
2027 will be a bit easier because it's
right here.
right here.
You have something, John?
I was just excited to bring the revenue to town for 2027.
Sorry.
Unfortunately,
Taxes.
yeah.
Yes, but that people will spend.
Yeah, your estimate zone is fine.
And at this point, with the coming in 2027, bringing us the revenue, I hope they leave their tax exempt certificates at home.
The staff is going to forget how to do those all the time.
But that's the only item I had, is just pointing out that conference is coming up. And if you plan to attend, please do register. Of course, the town will pay for that. And Christy, I would recommend highly that you go if you're available during that time period. Other than that, that's all I had. Are there other matters we should be considering today?
We talked briefly about the coffee or brews with council this Friday evening at, I know, it's just 9280 Sakias. So because it's a change in both time and location, everybody who can promote this is great. Steve has always been helpful in positioning signs to guide people. Is that your action? Have you made that happen? And if so, do we need that this time around?
I talked to Josh at Vail Resorts about putting something on their existing signs that they've got out there for the sandwich boards. They're talking to the manager to see if that's doable because it's also the Pride stuff is happening this weekend. But internally within the restaurant, they will have a sign.
And that's just saying when people wander in and look around and realize they don't know who they're looking for, that's helpful. Thank you.
Who else planning on going? Wow, good.
Make sure we do that. Post, no, nothing is going to happen.
Yeah, please send out another notice to the community. All right. No other matters. We have 25 minutes.
Go on, do it. Close it.
More reports, Karen?
I'm going to write the cast one, so I
In
can
that
make it
case,
up.
in that case, the meeting is adjourned.